I'm just referring to the Tito's at Disney World, the ones that are being arrested, and there's a lot of men dressing as women, and they're just, finding ways to get into a workforce at Disney World.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Let's bring on an anonymous caller. I don't even know how they did that. But anonymous caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from? Or what's your anonymous name? And yeah.
Okay, interesting. All right, well, then I'll go by Mark. I'm in Florida because I know you love Florida, so we'll go with that. All right.
There we go. Mark,
So
I do love
funny.
Florida. I was just in Florida recently. I went to Disney on vacation. My first time ever having been in Florida, or having ever been in Florida, yes, but also first time ever having gone to Disney. And it was during the longshore strike, and I was able to make a trip out to the port of Tampa to walk the picket line with some of my longshore sisters and brothers. So I was happy to be able to do that because I would not have been able to be on their picket line if I hadn't been on vacation in Florida, because I live a long way from a port. So so it was good timing. So yes, I do love Florida, and I had a good time at Disney World and walking the picket line with my longshore sisters and brothers out at Tampa. So yeah, Mark from Florida, what's on your mind?
Well, I appreciate, that you're there for, workers. However, I'm sorry to hear that you went to Disney World. That's not a good reputation company right now, with people being arrested for certain things I shouldn't say on the online world. And Universal Studios is better, just FYI. Better age.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you're referring to. But I was amazed at the whatever else. I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to, but just on the worker thing again, I was really amazed at the how well everything was put together at Disney World. Like all the construction, everything was really beautiful. It was really made really well. And then also the staff, the service staff, were always really friendly. They at least seemed like they were happy to be there. And that struck me at the time being there, but it struck me even more when I went to Busch Gardens and the staff was not happy to be there, and it made the experience not as good. So yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, what do you think of the certain workers that are men dressing up as women, and then they got full beards on, but they're wearing a full princess outfit as an employee? What do you think of that?
I don't think it bothers me. I don't care what people wear.
Really? So if you're bringing your daughter there and there's a man with a beard wearing a princess outfit, and you're like, "Hey, this is a princess," and your daughter's like, "That's a man," what would you say?
What? Well, I don't typically interact with strangers. What is the or I don't interact that much with strangers. What are you talking about? What do you mean? What is the
a legitimate
situation?
Employee in Disney World?
Of as an employee at Disney
there's
World?
Several Disney. Yeah, it was
under what
unavoidable.
circumstances?
You're walking to the next exhibit.
Yeah, well that doesn't happen, right? I know people. I know cisgender women that are not able to, they have very, you got to be a very specific kind of person to be one of their Disney princess types, right? And so I'm not sure what you're talking about, actually.
Well, yeah, I was just referring to the Tito's at Disney World, the ones that are being arrested, and there's a lot of men dressing as women, and they're just, finding ways to get into a workforce at Disney World. But yeah, I just had to comment that you mentioned Disney World. That's what popped in my head when you mentioned Disney World. And then, yeah, just calling in general. Kind of funny, quirky geek girl was talking about politicians shouldn't hold stocks. Yeah, sure. But they also have to then target their family and audit the whole family structure to it as well. Nancy Pelosi is a great example of that. So we got corrupt politicians, definitely.
Yeah, she absolutely is, and she's a great. And she was one of the obstacles to getting it blocked. I think her in the House and Tuberville, my senator in the Senate, were some of the chief obstacles of that. And Tuberville in particular was very frustrating to me because his argument against it was that if you don't allow, and I kid you not, go and look it up, what he said about this stock stock trading ban. He said, if you don't allow people to buy stocks, then you're going to prohibit successful people from becoming Congress folks because they won't want to do it because they won't be able to make enough money on it. And it's crazy having that salary as a senator. And then also Tommy Tuberville got paid $5 million from the Alabama taxpayer to quit as the Auburn head football coach. And on top of that $5 million that he got from the taxpayer to quit, he gets $67,000 annually from his pension, again, paid by taxpayers in the state of Alabama. And so for him to talk about like not making enough money was really frustrating to me. He gets more in just his pension than the median Alabama worker.
Yep, cut to the bone. And it's funny, I just saw Porky Geek Girl right here. Overall, was arrested 160 people. You're talking about 160 pedos working at Disney. That's bad. I mean, that's a bad environment for your kids. I mean, I can't believe you're not aware of this and you're not concerned to bring, let's pretend, your daughter to Disney World, and then you run into an employee, full beard, I'm a man, but then wearing a princess outfit, and your daughter's clearly like, hey, what is that, Daddy? Is that a man? And you're like, yeah, it's a man. Like, oh boy. Yeah, that's bad.
Hey, 5 seconds. Just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate.
I looked up 160 Disney employee, arrested. And what I found was that there was one Disney employee among 160 arrested for like sex trafficking.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Still bad. Still really bad.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's bad. Like, you're going to have bad, like, I mean, preachers do this stuff, right? I mean, so like, there's not anything, as far as I can tell, like a problem among Disney employees, specifically. There was a Disney employee among 160 arrested, which is like, that's crazy. Like, this is a crazy story, but it was not even, this guy does not even seem to have been any sort of like LGBT, like it just seems like this was just a man that was the Disney employee. So like, I think it's very,
right.
I think it's indicative of like, I don't know, your media diet that's kind of like what you thought of. There was a man, it seems to me, look, I mean, I'm literally looking at this right now. So, you can email me if something else comes up, right? But I haven't followed this story. But it seems to me that what we have here is that there's one cisgender man who was a lifeguard at Disney among 160 arrested for human trafficking charges. And you're talking about transgender folks that work at Disney. And these are two completely unrelated things that have somehow become like melded in your mind. Like, does that not seem weird to you?
Well, it seems weird to me as a man in a dress with young children in a princess outfit.
Was this guy,
I mean,
was this cisgender, was this apparently cisgender employee at Disney, was he wearing a dress?
In this particular incident? No, I'm just saying in general, like if you look it up, man in dress at Disney World, you'll see plenty of examples of that and the concern of Disney World as a whole and what they're promoting. But I don't want to get too.
Yeah, is that what you wanted to call about?
Disney World. I'll just throw a little caution flag. No, not really.
Okay.
Yeah, but
what
like working from home. Oh, just kind of like a broad range of things. I mean, you seem very Democrat leaning. You don't want to promote anything Republican, I can tell. You want to target Vivek and Tucker Carlson. Great people, by the way. And it's just interesting takes you have. You keep bringing on Jim Craner. He's bad with the stock market. He's usually wrong on his calls. And people work from home. I mean, statistically, you could Google it, sure. You could maybe find some stats saying they're more productive. I don't buy for 1 second. I really don't. I got a couple neighbors who work from home. They tell me personally, and I don't know that many people who work from home. So my statistics versus the world, who knows? But I just kind of doubt people who work from home work harder than people who work in person. And I encourage people to work in person more than online or at home. and same with schooling as well. We saw with the pandemic how kids are less physically, active, and they're just all behind as well, because of the lockdowns and doing remote learning. We should work in person, definitely.
Okay, so this is the topic.
Just kind of overall.
Yeah, this is the topic. We'll have to wrap on this topic. You can stay on for just a little bit longer, but I do have another caller on the line, and we need to wrap here soon. But and then you said you had a wide range of topics. Feel free to call back in. We're live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Central Time. The phone number is the same. But on the work from home thing, like, I don't know what you mean when you say work harder from home. Like, I don't work harder when I work from home, but I produce as much. Like, when I'm working harder, like, what does that even mean? Are you more exhausted at the end of the day? Are you more tired at the end of the day? Like, I'm more tired at the end of the day when I go into the office, but I am not less productive when I work from home. And that is my own personal experience working from home. I'm not less productive. And in fact, actually, my most recent performance evaluation was the highest that I have ever gotten. And I was primarily working from home. I was like 3 days a week at home, 2 days a week in the office. The last performance evaluation that I got when I was working for the federal government. I have a different job now. And so I don't know what it means when your neighbors say, am I working harder from home? If somebody asked me, do you work harder from home? I would probably say no. I work the same or maybe less hard, but I get the same amount of work done, and that is reflected in my performance evaluations by the way that my management views my work product. And that's also, and my anecdotal experience is also matched by the evidence. Like, I'm not, I challenge you to find any study that shows that people are generally less productive when they work from home, and you won't be able to find it. And also, when you're listening to these people try to attack folks who work from home, try to listen for evidence that they provide for it, right? Because they don't. They just point to the way these kind of common sense, perhaps, things, these intuitions, but they don't actually say Social Security administrators do less cases when they're at home, because that evidence doesn't exist. And I posit my hypothesis for the reason as to why they don't have this evidence is that it doesn't exist, because the evidence seems to me, according to the Government Accountability Office, according to these other to like academic institutions who have studied this, that work from home is either like does not have an impact on productivity or makes people more productive. And so, because it is so beneficial for workers, I support workers being able to get work from home if their job can be done that way, right? And obviously, also one more thing that I remembered: doing a job is also different than like school, right? Obviously, I think we can all understand, and the data has shown, I think that like at-home learning was detrimental for children, and because like the school is at least as much about the socialization and the like learning how to move through the world. It's at least as much about that as it is about like learning that 2 + 2 is 4, right? And so we can understand how doing that in isolation is going to be detrimental in a way that working from home as an adult is not.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of jobs that require you to work in person, so that's I think that's the obvious, versus how many jobs there are remotely. And I think we can both admit that, Fauci was wrong. Kids in school was more harmful than sending the kids with COVID.
I think that we did the lockdowns for too long for schools. Probably. Yeah. So I don't know specifically about what claim that you're referring to Fauci making, but I do think that, well, in some places, I mean, in Alabama, it was very, very quick that children were back in schools. And so and I imagine in Florida, it's the same way. So it's kind of strange that we're like 4 years out now and people are kind of, that's still part of it. But yeah, I think we can generally agree that it's important for kids to be in schools and particularly for long periods of time we shouldn't do that.
Well,
again, so.
And we'll remember it was the red states that wanted to open up sooner. and they did do it, and it was a blue state that didn't, and the Department of Education is corrupt. They got their money. They got the federal ESSER funds that school got from states to get COVID relief money, millions of dollars per district. And typically they only get like maybe $300K per district. No, we're talking 3 million. I've been at the school board meetings. I've seen their reports, the financials, and it's called ESSER fund. You can look it up, and that's what they receive for COVID relief money. So it was for the money, not the best interest of the children.
I'm not sure what you're talking. I didn't. I have to be honest. I did not follow the education stuff that closely. But I do recall having there were a lot of problems with the distribution of those funds and how they were either not utilized or not utilized for what they were what they should have been utilized, like at the local level. So yeah, there were definitely some problems there. But Mark, appreciate the call. Yeah.
Thank you.
Call back. You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.